what I see is basically an offense right now that is horizontal. You don't have to defend it vertically. You don't even have to defend it in the middle of the field. I don't see him throwing the ball very much in the middle of the field. And in this game, limitations are not on his knee. Clearly, they have to move him out of the pocket because the Rams just feasted on him in the pocket, 7 sacks.
That was Sal Pal earlier today, as you heard here on 97.3 ESPN on the national programming. He has been keeping a close eye on the Philadelphia Eagles all week, and he is back for a Sal Pal Friday here on 97.3 ESPN. ESPN NFL national reporter, of course, the NFL matchup show. Catch it tomorrow morning on ESPN. Sal staying busy. Sal would not be NFL championship Sunday with the Eagles if you were not on 97.3. How you doing, my man?
Josh, you're always working, my brother. You're always working. You're wearing 2 hats today. How about that? That's beautiful.
It's a dirty job, Sal, but someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, I hope that Mike Gill is streaming somewhere on the beach in Thailand, listening to 2 of us break down the championship game.
So let's start with what you just said about Jalen Hurts earlier today. Sal, For you, looking ahead to this game, obviously Jalen told the media today that he's going to be good to go. His knee is progressing. He'll wear a knee brace. What does all that say to you, how that could impact the offense with the quarterback?
Well, the first thing, Josh, is that there's practice and then there's games. Practice speed is not game speed. The speed of your opponent is always much, much greater than the speed of your defense, the scout team in practice. So we're going to have to see how he moves. How does he avoid the rush in the pocket? If he has to evacuate the pocket, which he didn't do much of against the Rams. Now, I realize the conditions were pretty bad. It was icy, it was slippery. Matthew Stafford couldn't move very well either. But after the injury in the third quarter against the Rams, he only rushed 1 time for -1 yard and only threw the ball 3 times. He was 3 for 3 for only 9 yards. So didn't have much offensive production out of the quarterback position. So the proof on Sunday will be how is he tested by Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, and that Commanders team that has made it pretty clear down there in Ashburn, Virginia, at their practice facility that they plan to go after and hit Jalen Hurts like they did when they knocked him out of the game with a concussion on December 22nd.
So with that being said, Sal, I want to know from you, what can the Eagles do to prevent Jalen Hurts from being knocked out of the game again? What can they do with the game plan to maximize him with the offense on Sunday?
And that's the perfect question to ask, Josh. There's no question about it. So, number one, the ball has to come out much more quickly. He is 3.12 seconds snap to release, second slowest in the National Football League. The slowest guy was Bryce Young in Carolina for most of the season. So that's not a good comparison. Ball comes out way too slow. Jaden Daniels, by comparison, 2.68, 4th fastest, and he's a rookie. And you look at the sack numbers in the postseason. Jalen Hurts has 9 sacks. He's lost 76 yards. And Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jaden Daniels combined have been sacked 7 times in this postseason for a loss of 27 yards. So it's a significant difference, and the issue is ball's got to come out much more quickly. 2, they got to get him on the move, as I mentioned this morning, early this afternoon, on ESPN National Radio. They've got to get him on the move, get him out of the pocket. Now, the key is, will he be able to move and for how long? And getting him out of them, he's a good passer when he's on the run. He's very accurate. He hasn't turned the ball over in 195 straight snaps, so he's taking care of the football. That's key. Take care of the football, get it to Saquon Barkley, but will he have to be more productive offensively facing Jaden Daniels? That's the question.
Talking with ESPN's Sal Palantonio here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN. You mentioned Saquon, Sal. This is a guy who had 150 rushing yards and 147 rushing yards the last 2 games versus Washington. We all saw, Sal, last weekend when Washington beat the Lions, they allowed 200 rushing yards to the Lions, and the Lions had all those turnovers. So, is that a sign that Philadelphia is going to just keep running the ball at the Washington D?
I do believe that that is the case. They're bigger and stronger on their offensive line. They have definitely an opportunity to move the ball, running with the football like they did before Jalen Hurts got concussed. As long as Hurts is on the field as somewhat of a decoy to run the ball, that will help Saquon Barkley and the offensive line move the ball against a defensive front that is not that big. Wagner's been on the injury report. Frankie Louvu is not a big guy. He's a fast guy. He can really hit you, and he's a good tackler, but you can move him out of the way. I think the Eagles will be able to run the football easily on the Commanders, and that could be a significant difference in this game.
Sal, I know you're a big historian of the game of football. That's why you wrote the book, How Football Explains America. Wherever you get your books are sold. It's a great book to read, by the way, just, personal preference. But anyway, Sal, I know that with Saquon on the verge of making history, he could break all of Terrell Davis's postseason records this Sunday. If Saquon gets that record on Sunday, the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, how does that change the storyline of the Eagles?
Well, Josh, I do believe he's already done that. I think he's rewritten his story, and he's rewritten the story of this particular team, the Sirianni, Jalen Hurts team. It's been rewritten by two people, in my view, Saquon Barkley and Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, and some defensive players who, like Jalen Carter, Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Nolan Smith Jr. now, Jalix Hunt, who's coming into his own. The two safeties have been really playing well. This is a team that comes in with number one overall on defense and number one passing defense now. In the fourth quarter, they had a problem against Jaden Daniels in Washington. Couldn't stop him. And the Achilles heel of Vic Fangio's defenses over the years has been the same thing. Dual threat quarterbacks who run. He doesn't believe in a dedicated spy. He thinks it's up to the entire team to stop the quarterback who runs. I think it'll be tough because this particular quarterback is sensational with the ball in his hands outside the pocket. He's very fast. He's got long legs. He's got great stamina. They're going to have to do something different against Jaden Daniels in this game in order to stop him.
I know that C.J. Gardner-Johnson took the game personally that they lost because he was kicked out of the game when Washington scored 22 points after he left the game, Sal. So what do you anticipate will be different about this game aside from just C.J. on the field?
Well, the number one thing will be Jalen Hurts. He missed three-quarters of the game, more than that, because he was concussed in the fourth quarter. By the way, that was a helmet-to-helmet hit by Frankie Louvu.
Yep.
No flag, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
No flag, and no fine. They say they're protecting the quarterbacks. They're protecting some of the quarterbacks, Josh.
It's true. It's very true. Sal, when you think about it, you mentioned about protecting the quarterbacks. The Eagles, they were able to contain Jaden Daniels in the first matchup. Now you can say that maybe that was because of the rib injury. Daniels went off in the second matchup. So how can the Eagles contain Jaden Daniels here in matchup number 3?
Well, I think, Vic Fangio is going to do what he does, and he's going to play his safeties deep. He's not going to blitz. He's going to allow his front four to get to the quarterback. And there's a particular matchup to watch in this game when the Eagles defense is on the field, and that's Jalen Carter, who's playing at an extremely high level right now, not only from a physical standpoint, but he's just being smart in everything that he does and the adjustments that he makes if you watch him on film, able to slide away from the protection, able to see what's going on in the backfield before others do. Really smart player pre-snap. But the Washington Commanders are without their best offensive lineman, Sam Cosmi. He's their right guard. He suffered a knee injury in Detroit. Huge loss for them. Big loss. And that's where Jalen Carter lines up most of the time, right over the right guard. So they better have a plan. They better have a plan, Washington, to block Jalen Carter in this football game.
Sal, a couple more before I let you go. Folks, don't forget about the NFL Matchup Show Saturday morning, 5:30 a.m., 9 a.m. on ESPN2 and ESPN+. Of course, as always, Sal Pal with Greg Cosell on that show. For you, when you guys are breaking down the game, when Johnny G in Ocean City's flipping on the television on Saturday morning, Sal, and he's looking at you, what are you telling Johnny G? What is Greg Cosell and the team? What are you guys going to be informing people about on the show tomorrow morning?
Well, thank you for asking, and thank you for promoting the NFL Matchup Show. Tomorrow morning it'll be on ESPN2, but you can always stream it on ESPN+. Greg Cosell has a great breakdown of what the Eagles defense needs to do once Jaden Daniels breaks free of the pocket. I don't want to give it away. I want people to watch it. It's pretty good. And then we really talk about Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts really calling their own shot in the running game, how they adjust the running game to hit those big home runs. So I'm sure Johnny G, Burger team at Johnny G, the Grinder team at Burger Realty in Ocean City, New Jersey. He's my guy. He's always watching the matchup show. We love his support. And he's a big Eagles fan, so I'm sure he'll be watching.
Sal, before I let you go, I want to know for you, what does making a second conference championship in 3 years say about the Eagles organization?
Great adjustment and resiliency, especially for head coach Nick Sirianni, who went through a lot of turmoil in the offseason, especially for Jalen Hurts. Ditto. A lot of turmoil. The stories are well documented that they had trouble getting along. They ironed it out. They figured it out. They've won 9 in a row at home. Josh, the Eagles have won 9 in a row at home.
Yep.
It's insane. This is a good football team. The last time they lost at home was to the Falcons when Barkley dropped that pass at the goal line. So this is a good football team. And I've traveled with them from Sal Pal, Brazil, week 1, and maybe all the way to the Super Bowl. I do believe that they will win the game. I got them winning the game 31-24.
And, of course, Sal Palantonio will also be a part of postseason NFL Countdown starting at noon this Sunday on ESPN. Of course, give him a follow on Instagram at SalPalESPN. And he was kind enough to join us here on 97.3 ESPN for a Sal Pal Friday because Sal Palantonio is working even if Mike Gill is on vacation.
And on my Instagram right now, I have a one-on-one interview with Jalen Carter at his locker. And he doesn't talk very much. So if you want to hear from Jalen Carter, go on my Instagram, Sal Pal ESPN, and check it out. It's pretty good, actually.
Great stuff. Sal, keep up the great work. I appreciate you jumping on today, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me, Josh.